Dr. Douha, so lovely to meet you. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak. I'm going to jump right in. You are a color expert and you specialize in interiors. And the way that we met is through our university, which is really, really awesome, up in the north of England. But today we're talking about something quite different. We are going to be talking about color and mood and your career as someone who's focused on color and why you think color is so important. So maybe if we can start there, can you tell me what drew you to color and interiors, and why do you think color is incredibly important to our daily lives?
Thank you very much, Andrea. It's my pleasure. And yes, I'm happy that we both graduated from the same university, the University of Leeds. So it's my pleasure to talk about color, fashion, or like what makes us happy. So first of all, what made me go and dig deeper into color as a field or science is basically I noticed I'm an interior designer, so, from that creative field, I noticed that there is always one major player, if I could say, that really dictates how the mood or the atmosphere or the final result is, whether it's in fashion, accessories, clothing. Everyday elements, not only interiors, even architectural facades, even the urban context, and that's color. So the one element that it's like magic, you can sometimes see beautiful design lines, whether it's a piece of wearable fashion or a building or a chair or an interior context, and then beautiful elements, and then you see there's something wrong in there, and you finally notice that it's the colors next to each other or the color interacting with the texture or so. So I noticed that color really plays a big role in the final look and feel of any design context. That's what brought me to look more and research more about color. This is how it started, and I was lucky to be supervised back then as a PhD researcher by color scientists who know more about science. I knew more about design and the aesthetics, and they taught me how to look at color scientifically. With that balance, we came up with a nice thesis academically, and we try to theorize the role of color in interior design, and so this is how it started. Yeah.
That's amazing. And I know it's an impossible question, but I'm curious, like what is the role of color in interior design, especially in your personal space? What did you find?
Very interesting, Andrea. Honestly, as I just said, color is the major element, and believe it or not, scientific research have proven that color is the first element that the human eye can see and perceive. Sometimes when you look around you and then when you try to easily describe to someone, you say the yellow box next to the red wall or so on. So it is subconsciously your eyes, the way they are there. So it's the first element that you can recognize. And of course, that's with the help of the light. So without light, we cannot see color. My supervisor then, Dr. Vian, usually said that we only can see light without colors only in our dreams. So you have to have light to see the color. So the role of color in interior design or in fashion design or like the accessories that you do or any element around us is like, because we know that it is the first element we see, whether it's how we brand, whether it's how we market for that product, or how we want people to feel and interact, how we want people to express. It's majorly related to the emotional, let's say, to the emotion and also to the physiological being. So color has also been proven to affect the physiology of the body. That's why there is a field of chromotherapy. Some
Wow.
yeah, some illnesses can be actually treated by color, some color light. atmosphere. So it's interesting. And the really nice thing about color, it's not like pure science. It's not like pure aesthetics or design. It's like emotions, science, culture, heritage, everything color brings together.
That's really cool. Could we stick with emotions for the minute? So you
Yeah.
mentioned that we can use chromotherapy, which makes a lot of sense, but it's the first time I hear about it to regulate emotion and I guess as a therapeutic for people to maybe I guess is it to do with psychology? Is it to do with mental health mainly? And
Not only that, but physiology as well. Your organs, some
wow,
illnesses, organ illnesses, can be treated by color in some controlled atmospheres, like some liver. They've done a lot of research. I'm not expert into that,
yeah,
but I read about it. Some liver, some kidney problems can be actually treated. Some mental illnesses can be not only regulated in terms of emotional and psychology by color, but also physiologically.
that's
It's
mind
interesting. And
blowing.
can't you like don't you sometimes, Andrea? You live in the UK now,
Yes,
don't you?
absolutely, yes.
So sometimes if you are like busy in London, have a lot of meetings, and so don't you sometimes miss the summer, the sea, the skies, the blue? So everything comes from nature. So sometimes you miss that. You want to just detox and just run away from all the busy life. I was in the weekend by the beach, and it actually all the blue colors and the greens from the nature helped me. I was very stressed out. I had a lot of work to do and submissions. When I went there, with the help of nature and the colors of nature, it helped me calm and
Yeah.
do better. So it's amazing how color sometimes subconsciously affect our well-being.
100%. And I know in the UK, especially in winter months when the days feel very short and
Gray.
incredibly gray and dark, it affects your mental health. I just hadn't quite realized that that the evidence was so overwhelming and that you could even use chromotherapy for
Can you believe, Andrea, that I personally I prefer the gray, dark days and atmosphere. Sometimes in hotels when I travel, I try to look very dark and dull interiors. Although I'm an interior designer, while my family, some members of my family, they don't like that. So it's personal,
well, yeah, where does it
and
come from? What is it? Is there a recipe
this
to say like these colors make you feel calmer, or is it really very personal?
we do that and we teach that, and because there is some kind of logic in there. You need to look at the temperature of the color, if it's warm, cool, the things that we know and we studied in elementary school, the color wheel, warm or cool. Also the saturation, intensity. I would always teach the saturation, intensity, the tone of the color,
Yeah,
the adjacency, the context. But
yeah,
at the end of the day, it's purely personal. If I'm looking at I like or I dislike, am I comfortable or not comfortable? Although even the personal well-being or dislikes or likes is also affected by the timing. So, for example, today I would love to be in a very happy, energizing interior. But tomorrow, I would love to be. It depends on the context. It
right.
depends on how I feel, what is affecting me. Sometimes we have like a bad memory of that color. Some like the fashion, like the scent. Some perfumes remind you of a person or a time of your life that you weren't happy. For example, same as color. So I really don't like to have a stereotype or to teach like this is like it's not like 1 plus 1 equals 2. It's like how you feel today. Yeah, that's the beauty about color. You see, it's artistic, so it's like a piece of art. And
Yeah.
the mood, what is it affecting your color decisions? So there's nothing that I could say that your, for example, your silk violet turban is going to be there forever and it's going to be loved by anyone or everyone. No, it's purely personal. You need to think purely personal at the beginning. Some people will like that color or not. Second, you need to be aware of color forecasting as well. The area or research field of color forecasting. That's why a lot of companies like Pantone or so, they do like color of the year and so on. It's based on color forecasting,
Yes,
and color forecasting have a lot of elements affecting that. Believe it or not, politics as well.
yes.
So politics, the society, communities, what's going around in the world, the economy, all of that are factors. So
Affect color. It's so true. I mean, when I look at color forecasts, because you must, we're doing work with fabric and fashion and designing, I really I like to understand what's being forecasted, but I also often like to ignore what's being forecasted
yeah,
because
because it's personal.
it is personal. And also, like, I think sometimes you want to create, I try to create timeless colors or prints, and that feel a bit metallic
Mhm.
or natural, that can go across time, but are ingrained in someone's mood. So our bright collection, which has, very abstract, it's like almost, my favorite fold there is called paint by numbers, and it's literally that. It's like primary colors galore, really loud. And there will be a person who will love that today, tomorrow, because they've just got that personality. They
Exactly.
love it. And then there are these kind of much more muted, elegant kind of grays, lilacs, that just resonate with someone completely different. And then it's really hard to say what people will love, but I always think, like, do I really love it? Do I like it? Does it resonate with my mood on some days? Not every day.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah,
Today you may love it, you want to wear that, or you
yeah.
want to have that piece, and tomorrow it's like
I want the
things
gray.
change. So
Absolutely, your mood's different.
it's purely organic. So enjoy having lots of colors.
Absolutely. And actually, I made a mistake. I don't know if you can see with my wall. I decorated this room with two very different moods in mind. I wanted all these yellows, and I was feeling very like I was tapping into that, and they resonated with me on one day. And then on another day, I decided to paint the picture rail in green. And then I was like, I ought to have been in a better, more cohesive mood when I decorated this
I
room.
think the
That
nice
makes
thing that it's exploratory. You can explore. So nothing is right, nothing is wrong
fine.
with color.
And you can just paint over it, I guess, in the worst case. But that was
Yeah.
that was a funny incident for me. I'm curious, if you're looking at creating your own restful and relaxing place for yourself in your home, especially in your bedroom. How do you approach that, or how do you encourage people to think about colors in intimate spaces, especially rooms, bedrooms, bathrooms, living rooms, that sort of a space?
Now, those specific functions and spaces, we tend not to go very wild in choosing colors because there are specific functions. For example, the bedroom is for relaxing, sleeping, reading, or like the most intimate, as you said, zone of the living place. If it's a living room, it depends on the numbers of the family, depends on activities happening there. Is it only living or do you host people there? Are you the owner or the user of the space? Um, Travel a lot, have a lot of like things to collect, or you want like as yourself, you play piano, for example, you want like a very cozy living space to play music, or do you host people? It depends on the function. So um, we start from the function of the space. We study the user very well. The main user, sometimes the client is not the user, especially if there are kids or so, or like the client is who's paying us, but the user is who's actually using the space. So we
Absolutely.
need to understand, yeah, we need to understand, we need to discuss a lot, go into their experiences. And so sometimes users of spaces have a starting point where we can look at that element, understand it. For example, something inherited from a grandfather, like a piece of like a table or chair, and it's very dear to their hearts. So we start looking at color from that. to evoke memories, to evoke emotions. It depends on the function by the end of the day. Also, we try to balance, because there are user needs and there are user requirements. The
Mm,
requirements is that they say what they want, but a good designer would do their research to know what they actually need
mm,
and convince them throughout the
yeah.
process. So honestly, I would. It's a long process and it's organic.
Yeah.
It's nothing linear. You go back and forth. You need to put yourself in their shoes, understand what they want, and try to accommodate that function of space. One trick, there is a chapter, I would also share the link with you. A book chapter we did, me and Vian, about coloring interiors and the philosophy of that. And we looked and talked about the context of the space and how color actually interacts. So it's not the one color. Now, if I'm talking about like a color scheme, I will just verbally tell you, I will make your living room a happy living room using yellows, oranges, and so. It's not like if you see the materials, because color interacts with texture.
Mm,
So is yellow going to be applied on a piece of wood or paint or wallpaper or cushions or so on? So it has a lot of elements. It goes from interaction with textures, shapes, forms, and most importantly, we looked at adjacency. How am I, for example, this element, if it's like a dear to my heart, and then I inherited that from my family and I want it to be a key element in my living room, so how will I make it like a focal
yeah.
point? I would, for example, hang it on the wall. It has to have a contrast, for example. What is it surrounding that? And so it's a lot of elements that you need to look at: interaction of space, of
Mm,
elements, adjacency, and most importantly, the personal factors.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And may I
Yeah.
ask, in terms of culture, do you find that different cultures relationships with color and what colors are calming versus which ones are kind of might have
Yes, yes.
cultural significance?
Yeah, of course. They are like, because I come from a community, you come from a different culture, you see. So people, you cannot take yourself out of the history of your culture or community or region. Now, it has been associated with, for example, the color white has been always associated with purity, happiness, weddings, pure moments in majorly in the western part of the world. However, in the east, some locations, regions associate white with death. So it depends, and you
Yeah.
can, but again, it's personal. But there are like, I would call them stereotype, because I do not like to associate certain color. For example, black with death. Black is my favorite color, by the way. So for some, again, in the Western region, some ties for the men and part of the fashion only are being worn in death and funerals. But
Yeah.
you know
Why
in,
would
in
you
it,
say why not?
it's personal. So uh, color has to do with culture a lot. Now recently I've been looking and researching about color as a cultural element in the interiors
Mm,
of different cities, and how we could revive the cultural essence with modern designs, applying
mm,
the same colors in different ways.
right.
So it's always there, and it will always have to do with evoking emotions through how it's been used in culture
Yes.
and heritage. Yeah.
No, that's fascinating. And do you feel like that? Yeah, it's the emotional cultural intersection that I think is quite interesting
Yes.
because, as you said, white can be.
Emotional culture and science as well, Andrea. So also science, physics and chemistry, if it's like doing those colors and textiles, and so it's a very huge area of research that you will never cover all of it.
And would you, if someone was going on if someone wanted themselves to look at their own space and try to make it a nicer environment for them to live in, what would you advise? How would you advise they approach color?
Um,
And by nicer, I
I
would
mean,
say
what do
calmer.
you mean by nicer? Yeah,
Yeah,
if it's calmer,
yeah,
again, yeah, I would always like the user of that space define what's calm to
right.
them. For example, calm to you is beach. Calm to me is black
Yes,
at this phase of my life.
yeah,
So it depends what's calm to you. How would you see? Sometimes we do tests, like we show samples and swatches of colors. What does this represent to you? How do you see that? Some people see red as death or blood if they have something
yes,
to remind them with it. Some people love red and see it energizing. So it depends, honestly, and it's personal. But we usually, because the majority look at nature as the most calming, inviting, relaxing colors, the muted tones or shades of like greens, blues, not too saturated, not too like fluorescent or shining. You see those? And nature, going back to nature and looking to nature is the easiest way to do that exercise.
yeah. And seeing what resonates with you, because I guess also with nature, the natural colors are also less likely to go out of fashion in a way.
Yeah.
They'll always be relevant. Some of those beautiful colors. It is interesting with the design of my apartment in London. I didn't realize how much I would gravitate to some of those colors. I mean, even on the wall
Mm.
behind me, I'm not a floral person. I wouldn't describe myself as that. And
It's
yet,
lovely cherry blossom.
yeah,
It's really nice.
thank you. No, I appreciate that coming,
And
especially.
I think you went with that after you got the couch. There's a couch
Yes.
behind. Is it?
Yeah. Oh no,
Yeah. So
I
you
actually got
wanted
the couch
something to
after.
match.
Yeah. Well, I
Ah,
got
so
the
you,
couch.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you wanted something to match the wallpaper then.
I guess, yeah, and this couch it's really nice because it's wool. It's an old armchair, uh,
Mm.
and it got reupholstered in this really lovely type of wool, and it just feels so nice. But yes, I definitely agree with you. I've noticed that I've done the same. That you cannot have lots of pieces in a room that demand attention. You just need to find the one or two things, and you kind of create around them, and that becomes for me quite calming
Yeah.
because I'm not overwhelmed when I go into a room with all these different aspects of it that are
Do
demanding.
you like woods, or do you like woods, the forest? Do you do hiking, or do you like the desert in like I see the dunes, I see the color of nature coming from the mountains or
Yeah,
dunes or sand. I
yeah,
can see your preference, yeah, with that color because not all people prefer this exact tone.
yes.
Um, yeah,
I love
it's like
wood.
more like golden. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. I love wood, and I love things that are earthy, those colors.
yeah, I could tell. I could tell.
Yeah, for sure. And I find that calming, but you're absolutely right that that's not the case for everyone else. And I found though recently that I've been gravitating a bit more to like reddish ochre hues as well,
Mm.
which is different to how it
Yeah.
used to be with me before. So yeah, I
Yeah,
think
you
you're right.
see,
The
it's
relationship
different. Like,
changes.
I'm not sure if, like, in the next 10 years, you would still keep liking this type of color combination.
Yeah.
I had that. I had a red wall in my bedroom when I
Wow.
was in my 20s, red, like saturated red. So when I look at the pictures back then, I say, how did that be? It was in my bedroom, by the way, not a living. So it's interesting how we change and evolve.
What would you go with now? What is your bedroom wall now?
More muted. I do like there's one tone of like red, but it's like more to peach
Yeah.
because it's toned down. You see
Right.
grays in there. I have some like I'll send you a photo later. There's like a table that I custom made,
Yeah.
and it's like neoclassic with like I you would classify it as pink, but it's more like more muted shade of red, which is like pink and gray, and then with some golden elements in there. So it's totally different. Even the style, I tend now to do more neoclassic and classical elements, and before I was like more optimistic to use like wild, modern, contemporary lines. So it changes with time.
Yeah, and I guess it's the same with clothes because we see over time like what you're
Yes.
drawn to. Sometimes you feel very monochrome and but I use color to nudge my mood. I notice that in the same way with music. If I'm feeling a bit low and I'm naturally gravitating towards say black, then I'd say to myself, no, 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 put something colorful in your outfit, whatever it might
You know, now I could tell. Now I'm knowing your personality more because you play music. It's always like it comes hand in hand together. Music, art, design. So you appreciate those details more if you play music, if you like listening to music, especially classic, jazz, and so on. So it has to do with that, your well-being. Yeah.
100%.
Excuse me, Andre. I might maybe let me close this. I think in yeah,
Oh,
it
sure.
looks better now in your video maybe.
Yeah, it does actually, because there
Yeah,
was just a bit of
because
history of
we
light.
yeah
Yeah, the way that the light
yeah
was
yeah.
impacting absolutely with the um
It's not nice in the recording.
no, don't worry at all. It's fine. We'll try to edit it, but if it's
Okay.
we're very relaxed. We're very relaxed at Paradise Hall. Just a final question from you. I'd love to hear your thoughts on. I mean, I know you studied up at Leeds, where I studied as well. Went to the same university, and you've pursued a career in academia, and now you teach as well as do your own research and write. And I'm curious, how have you found that, and what advice would you give to someone who is interested, especially a young woman interested in a career in academia? With particularly because, as you know, we know that it's not the most highly paid of careers, right? It's definitely a lifestyle choice to say I'm going to pursue a career in academia. What advice would you give?
Well, I keep getting this question every day. Yesterday I had a long call with one of my ex students. Um, it's I always tell people it's a passion. She was telling me yesterday because I want to go into academia. I told her it doesn't start this way. You go to academia if you're passionate about one subject or multiple. So if when do we get to the level of being an expert in one field? Is that when you really want to know more about it. This is how science started, when life started. So people questioned a lot of things, wanted to explore, and so it's a passion follow. So she was telling me I want to do a field because I saw that the trend, and I told her, okay, the trend will end in the next 5, 10 years. The jobs will change, the market needs will change. So if you are following the thing you love doing and being known that you are one of the few in that area, and then it's then when you can teach, when you can transfer the knowledge to other people, to other generations. So I don't see it honestly, the way she was telling me, like I want to go to academia because it's like a settled job. I want to do that area because the need will be that. No, it doesn't start this way. So follow your dream. I like what you've done, Andre. You're a great example. You've done like a law or business school, and then now you're doing like for your own living, those fashionable accessories, and so it is like where you want to explore, and you find your passion and grow. So some people go to like their mid 30s and then redo school again, redo another degree because they found and explored another type of like hobbies. And so I would advise to follow your heart, follow your dream. And academia comes honestly, uh, the good academics are the ones who really want to transfer knowledge and share the expertise, not because of the job. itself.
I mean, that's a wonderful way to end. Thank you very much. I completely agree with you. Lead with passion, and then you'll find opportunities to follow. But if you start by thinking, "Oh, there's an opportunity for me there," you may not do it for the right reasons, and then the love
Yeah,
might end, or the trend might end, and then you're stuck with something you don't enjoy very much in a market that isn't great either. So the passion will always pull you through. Dr. Doha, thank you
yeah.
so much for your time. Really
Thank you.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Andrea.